What's up, YouTube? This is A&H here with Ton,
What's up,
and
guys?
and today we're gonna do a rant of what's happening in football recently.
Well, first of all, let's start it with the craziest game that has happened between Liverpool and Tottenham. Does it say that the Premier League is the best league? And if it is, what does that mean?
Here we go again.
What do you think, Don? Anthony?
It's entertaining like always, but quality-wise, it's not the best.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I think it was ESPN or Fox Sports, I can't remember, posted something to saying Haaland scored this many goals in the best league, which is the Premier League. And then I thought a lot of people were gonna agree with that comment or fact, as people want to call it. And then no, it was probably like 90% that were saying according to who. And because I always hear people saying the Premier League is the best league. So I thought around the world, people were gonna agree with that. But then I went on the comments, nope, 90% of them were more like according to who? Who said is the best league? And
Yay!
and
People
then
disagree.
yeah, it was like 90% of the comments. I can't remember. I just can't remember if it was a ESPN post or a Fox Sports post, but it was one of those. And I was surprised that 90% of the comments were actually according to who? Who said it? Wait, since when has it been the best league? And then they started throwing all these stats. And then, yeah, it was surprising to me too. Just reading all those comments.
This is news to me, man. Damn.
Yeah,
I didn't think anybody would be pushing back that hard in the comments. That's crazy,
The
actually.
game, the game that you just mentioned, Liverpool versus Spurs, it just shows how entertaining the league is. But the quality, the fact that Liverpool being 3-0 up, and then somehow Spurs came back 3-3, and then at the last minute, Spurs makes a mistake and then loses 4-3. It's an entertaining one, but quality can't.
but I put
It's
it this way.
unpredictable.
I put it this
Anybody
way.
can beat anybody, I guess, most of the time.
I mean, Girona beat Madrid. No, I'm kidding. But
Barely.
I put it this way. The is the Premier League, I agree that's the most competitive, and I do think it'll be the hardest for any team to win it because there's just more competitive teams there, like at the same level, if that makes sense. And the teams are very inconsistent. United could be City one time, then get smashed 7-0 by Liverpool. Liverpool, of course, smashed United 7-0, and then they could get smashed by Brighton 7-0 or 7-1, whatever they beat United. So it's just that the teams in the Premier League are very inconsistent, and it shows when they play Champions League titles or games. The teams who win the what do you call it, the triple or three titles, the six titles, seven titles, or I think it's six titles the most they could win. I could be wrong though. Those teams have been consistent in every tournament. They don't just say, I'm gonna play good in the Liga today. Oh, I'm gonna play good in Champions League today. No, they're consistent throughout the whole season, which is a harder level of stamina and technicality and skill to keep. While you're in the Premier League, sure, we see a lot of teams playing that, but it rotates between teams. It's not a team that stays consistent until now with City, but not many teams stay consistent in the Premier League. They just decide when they want to play bad and when they want to play good.
And I don't know if we mentioned this in a previous video or not. I can't remember. But guess what type of play the Premier League teams are trying to play these days? Brighton, Manchester City, other teams as well. They're trying to play high press possession football.
Which is what a league does and what they did to smack every single one of them for the past 10 years. And even think about it now. Liverpool had a great squad in 2019 when they won the Champions League. City has a great squad now with a great striker. I don't think you could see say about these teams, this is the best team I've seen in history. I don't think you could say about these teams. When it was Barca and Madrid, you could say this is the best team I've seen played in history. So there's a difference in that, right? In Premier League, it's just this team is good this year. Well, Liverpool isn't that good. I was like, then why do you think they're so high up there then?
And then how Pep Guardiola came to Manchester City and started changing the style of play. And then people were like, oh, he's revolutionizing football, but that's the Barcelona way, and it has been the Barcelona way for maybe
That
centuries or
Yeah.
like decades. It even goes down to their youth academy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It always makes me kind of laugh when people say that about Pep. Like, sure, he does a lot, but it's not like he invented all this, you know? Like, they played like that for a long time in Barca, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just that, and a lot has to do with the players, right? It was Pep was a great coach. He understood the philosophy, but to have the players who could actually execute that type of football is a different thing. And so it was just a whole round team.
Just because it's new to the Premier League, it's not really new.
Exactly. And now he's making everyone look like Farmers League. And I remember at one point there's maybe two of my friends who told me, yeah, but they lose to teams like Brighton. And then I'm like, but this is people who I take a comment or a fact on something when you watch enough games. I was like, yeah, they lost to Brighton. Have you seen how Brighton is playing? They're playing good football. They're not just like, we're a trash team, let's do our best. No, they're playing great football. That's why Brighton is so good this year. Girona isn't playing best football. They beat Madrid.
Madrid sucks. Just kidding. That's why. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I agree with that. Brighton, Newcastle, solid. They're playing solid football for sure.
Again, I think it's the most entertaining, the most competitive to win for sure, because just the teams they have. If it's the best football, not necessarily.
And this makes me want to bring up another point that I've been seeing in the comments, which is like in Manchester City highlights or Real Madrid highlights for the Champions League, like City fans are saying like they're gonna beat Madrid for sure, and now they have Haaland, they're gonna beat them, they're gonna smash them, and they're even like saying come back to the comments after we beat them. Like they're that confident, as if Madrid didn't beat them last season.
And they had a great squad.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it until you guys actually beat Madrid. You know?
Yeah. And again, if City beats Madrid, let's just say they beat Madrid, City has a great squad. It's not like they have players who are barely trying to play. No, they have a great squad, and this Madrid is not the same Madrid as in the past. This Madrid is good and still has great players that because they're so effective at what they do. They with the counter or just with even Vinicius or Rodrigo just playing good for a couple minutes could end the whole team, but it's not the same Madrid as in the past. So if they beat them, they have the arsenal to beat them, but it just won't be like, damn, this city is unstoppable. No.
I support Real Madrid, but I even think City has a good chance in winning. But you can't say too early that you're gonna beat Real Madrid.
And
I mean,
to add to that, City fans, they always think, you know, every year they're gonna win, and look what happens. So I mean, don't say anything too early yet.
not yet City. How many teams last year from the Premier League had ever can eliminate Madrid? Because they play good football for a couple minutes or for like a few halves. And this is the most important thing in football. It's not over until it's over. I believe Chelsea could have won it. I believe City could have won it. But this is what happens in the Premier League. They're not good at maintaining that level of football throughout the whole game. Hence 4-3 Liverpool versus Tottenham. And vice versa. It has happened in the Premier League all the time. And in Champions League you're not gonna face this team again. This is your chance.
And also, you can't talk too early because when your team has Champions Leagues, right?
And even if they go to the final, I don't know, man. The Italians have showed that with heart they could be any team. But yeah, like naturally, if City has a great squad to beat Madrid, they do. But the last thing I'll leave it with that is, has Haaland been the most important player for City? How does City functions? If you guys actually watch the games, I don't want just someone who just looks at the score and says, "Oh, Haaland scored this many goals."
Like you mentioned in the past, it's through the middle.
And how does Haaland score many goals? They have a great midfield person at this time, De Bruyne. He's good at passes, but if you see games where City struggles, it's where De Bruyne is off on his game, and the other midfielder as well. And the last thing I'll leave it with that, we could move to other teams. Haaland is technically scoring tap-ins, and not to discredit anything from him, because he has scored some bangers too. But just doing that, he's dominating the Premier League, and that's the best league in the world, right? So I just leave it at that. He's not doing crazy things like Ronaldo did when he was there. He has some goals who are acrobatic, but he's not juking whole teams or breaking backs or anything like that.
Yeah. And
the last thing I was gonna say is most of his goals are coming from passes and a lot of penalties, and also him just being really acrobatic and playing his position.
Now that you mentioned it, I want to bring up something controversial. So you mentioned all that, like tap-ins and all this, and getting everything put on a plate. And he's considered the best player in the best league in the world, right?
Exactly.
But then when Ronaldo does all that, it's wrong. Right?
That's what I'm saying.
He's the problem.
Everybody's all like saying Ronaldo only scores pens. Ronaldo only scores tap-ins. But what about Haaland? That you're considering like a top-notch.
And again, I'm not saying any of this to discredit Haaland. He's a great player. He has potential. But like Anthony mentioned, where Ronaldo did some of these things, that he was discredited a little bit from it. But Haaland is somehow already considered like this player that you technically can't touch. But I'm asking those people who think that. I'm not saying you don't think that, but look at the stats and to which teams he scored on and which goals actually matter, right? Against important teams, I don't think Haaland has been that important. And when he scored, has been a penalty, or when basically the score is like 3-1 against big teams. Against the small teams, he could score like 10 goals.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Anthony's saying. For some reason, people want to hold Ronaldo to a separate standard, even though he does the same thing, or sometimes even better than the current star that they're worshiping. To me, that's pretty fucked. So they're saying that. I haven't heard that before, but now that I'm hearing that, so they're saying that he's dominating the best league or whatever, right? So I agree with what Anthony's saying as well. Why don't they say that about Ronaldo? Like 37 years old, top scorer, top 3 in the best league, right? Like at 37. But yet he's not getting any credit for it. If anything, they slander him. He's the problem. He's this, he's that. But literally, the guy does way more for United than Haaland has been for City. So just leave it at that.
And again, just look at the things Haaland scored, how many penalties, and then you could make a broader argument as to how great he is.
If he keeps this up, yes, he's gonna break records. He's eventually gonna be one of the top players in the world. But we gotta have some fairness to this.
Yeah. Because the way they're looking at it is then Mbappe is better because he has a World Cup, right? It's not the case, but it's a very, like, I'm not gonna say bias, but like, stats are important, but they could also be misleading.
Exactly. It's more the context as well of the stat.
Like, I've seen something that says this is the type of stuff that happens to you only when you're one of the greatest.
Okay, I remember now. So let's not forget that Haaland probably plays for the best team in the Premier League, stacked from top to bottom, while Ronaldo is playing for the worst United that we've seen for like, I don't even know how many years, to be honest, and carrying them at 37, in Champions League, in Premier League. And then they did him dirty. They just benched him and booted him out the next season. So I'm just saying, like, he didn't get that opportunity like Haaland is getting. Imagine if Ronaldo had the service of De Bruyne and those guys and given the opportunity to play more instead of getting benched.
We'll show you what he could do with great players like that.
Yeah, imagine.
Win 6. He did it with Madrid. He won 6 titles in a row. Scores. He's like probably he's the second behind Messi in most goals scored at La Liga, but Ronaldo has less games and he had less time playing there. So he's more effective in that goal ratio. Like, I'll keep it like I said, if that Madrid was in the Premier League, they would have smacked everything. There's no day stop for those players.
Whether you love Ronaldo or hate him, credit is due where it's due. He's top 3 goal scorer in Premier League, the best league in the world, carrying Manchester United while Harry Maguire is leaking goals at the back.
Another point. Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead.
To leave and switch to another topic, I'll make the broader question as does there was Ronaldinho, R9, like the old Ronaldo, Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo. Does Haaland at this moment make you love football the same way these people made you love football? And again, this is not just for Anthony, but for everyone watching. Does Haaland make you love football the way these players made you at the time? And you remember, he's young, so it's not a lot you could compare it to with at the moment. Or are you just looking at Haaland as a stat? Like, which one is it that you're referring to?
Yes, put in a comment, guys, if you see that. I totally get what you're saying, Harry. Like, stats are important, but also the context and also the eye test as well. Like, when you watch it, how do you feel? Is it just like, whatever, or it's just like actually makes you feel something, right? Like those guys that Harry just mentioned. So
well, again, I'll keep it as like Messi's my favorite player. If Ronaldinho were to play more and be more successful, I don't think there was someone that plays football like he did. But Ronaldo did get close to him just because Ronaldo also did more freestyling also, as well as more skillful with his feet. And so Ronaldo did have some of that.
That's a great question. That was a great question you asked.
Yeah, that was a great question.
For me personally, Haaland makes you fall in love with goal scoring, but Ronaldinho, Messi, and Ronaldo, they had goal scoring and more.
Exactly. That's the important part, and more. Because if you just look at Haaland, there are other guys that are like him too, like Lewandowski, Aguero.
Benzema.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and then there's
even Alvarez off the bench. Like those three, Ronaldinho, Messi, and Ronaldo,
they made you feel in love as soon as you saw them.
Made it a beautiful game.
Also, they were also in their prime, the X factor of their teams as well, in my opinion. And then sometimes I get that soccer is a team game and all that, but sometimes I see them take over games too to help the team win. And honestly, I haven't seen Haaland do that yet, even though he's been scoring a lot of goals. So, yeah, just my opinion.
And this is just my personal opinion. I think I love Haaland's explosiveness and what he did more at Dortmund. I love his football that he played there because he was carrying more of his team in his back. I love what he did there more than what he's doing at City, even though what he's doing is really effective because he's scoring, like Ton said, a lot of goals.